In this video, we're going to crack open the mix session and dive deeper into the production of my song World Gone Mad. First off, thank you everybody for the kind words and the feedback on the World Gone Mad video or co-writing a song with AI. It was a lot of fun. I'm really excited to do the next video. For those of you who haven't seen it, you can check out the music video here on the channel. I'll link that below. Since the whole point of my channel and the ANAK Creates brand overall is to help inspire and empower modern music creators, I thought what better way than to get a little bit nerdy and dive into the mix session for the track. So let's do it. First, let's just talk about the mix bus that I have going on. I'm using the BX Townhouse bus compressor. It's like an SSL bus compressor, but just slightly different. So this is my standard settings, basically, besides the threshold that I always use. And it's the same settings on an SSL when I use that. I decided to use this one just to switch it up a little bit and to try it. I'm happy with it. I think I might be using this for a little bit moving forward. I've been an SSL bus compressor user for a long time, so this is a change. Next, we have the Dangerous Bax EQ, and it's literally just adding a bit of low end, like a 90 shelf at the bottom, and a 7.1 top end shelf up at the top. I just like it for a nice transparent, but still adding something in those ranges. Especially top end. I'm a big top end person. That is followed up by the Slate virtual tape machine, just to give it a little bit of extra punch to it. I just love the way that it warms tracks up a little bit. It's not a compression, but it is a compression of sorts. Following that, we have the Air EQ by Iosis, and this is the same, the Air band and the Earth band that you can find in the virtual mix rack from Slate. It is a few EQ moves, but I just like the way that it sounds and adds that top end and bottom end to the mix. Especially top end, that's what I need. I need that Air band on top that just brightens everything up, doesn't take up headroom, doesn't overcomplicate things. It just gives that space on top. And then finally, I do mix with this now. This is a new thing I've been doing, or just to keep an eye on my level, because what I would do a lot of the time is I would mix and it would be really, really loud. And then I would give it to the mastering and it would actually come down in order to reach Spotify's things that it wants, the -14 or whatever. So I put this on now and I constantly just check it, make sure that I'm in the right ballpark. I know what's happening over the course of the song, so I just periodically check in with this. It just is nice because then when I send it to mastering, I don't get something back that's like so much lower just to conform with standards. It doesn't do anything sonically at all, so I just can run it through it and leave it on. So for the drums, I used Matt Grainer's new Drumforge Grainer plugin. Honestly, it sounds good. I don't love the ride in this thing, but I do output everything onto separate aux tracks. So I leave a lot of what they do in here, but then I output it differently so that I have a bunch of different aux tracks. So I have the snare coming here, that's another snare. The toms are out and output, the cymbals, and then I make a drum room as well. So while I do love the plugin, I like to be able to control and change and add my own plugins outside of the drum plugin itself. Now, the other thing that I did do is I did add another snare and another kick from my own kit that I'm building with Malcolm, his signature drum kit. So that's coming soon. There's a little hint, but that's coming soon. We're working on that. But I added that alongside Grainer just to thicken up the whole thing, and I just really liked the attack and the snap that our snare added to the snare and the oomph that it added to the kick. Now, with the samples that I'm making, there is a really great room sound to it, so that's another reason why I wanted it on the snare, because I used the room and mixed the room differently for different sections in our samples to give it more in the chorus and in the end and in the bridge. I used my own samples as a room track. And then the drums are all going through the Wolf compressor, which is one of my absolute favorite compressors of all time, mostly the preset punch and crunch parallel compression. It's only at 15%, but this thing just sounds amazing. Honestly, if I had to say, this compressor would probably be one of my like secret sauces for mixing. Not very secret, but I use it a lot. For bass, we used EZBass on this, and it's just I think it's basically like the default patch. Then that's a DI, and then I threw it through White Boost, which is just a distortion pedal. Then we're using the Ampeg B15 amp on it to give it some rumble, and it really adds a nice bottom to it as well. I did tweak that a little bit with the cabinet and the mic and stuff like that. Really good Plug-in Alliance amp sim. Then I throw all of that through the LA2A, the UAD Spark version. I own the actual UAD version, but for some reason I chose the Spark version when I was mixing. And that is followed up, of course, by an SSL channel. And yeah, I'm just a big fan of SSL channels. And right now I'm on the Plug-in Alliance SSL 4000E. This one's just my current favorite. And I also like the THD knob right here. That's the total harmonic distortion. It just crunches things up. And as you can tell, it is all the way up. It just gives it an extra body to the sound. Next, we have the guitars and the Rythem Guitars. So for the Rythem Guitars, I have 3 different tones that are kind of the main rhythm guitar tones here. So we have the Barry Rhythm tone, which is literally, that's just a tone I created that I like as the kind of the main Barry Rhythm tone. Then I have another one, which is another baritone layer, and it's the baritone crisp layer. So it's just got a bit more top and just adds that kind of shimmer and crispness on the top. And then finally, we round it out with the Barry Octo Fuzz tone. And that one's just a tone with a octaver pedal on it. Slightly cleaner distortion, but the octaver makes it sound pretty dirty, but you can hear the notes a little more clearly than maybe the other ones. And when I play this one, I only do single notes. So it's doing the same rhythms and it's kind of doing the same patterns, but it's single note on the lowest note of the chord. I also use that as kind of the main tone in some spots here and there, like verse 2, that's the only tone that's going on, and the beginning of verse 1, and throughout verse 1, actually. It's just a layer that I really like, and I add on a lot of different things. So those 3 layers are what kind of make up my main rhythm tone. For the lead guitars, I don't do as much layering of different parts. I do harmonies more than I do different parts, or different tones, I should say. So the main lead guitar is this Bernie tone that I have. This is this really small, broken sounding amp, but it really adds so much nice clarity and just top end sizzle to a sound. I use this cabinet as in rhythms as well as leads, but especially with the lead with the Tele guitar. Not super distorted, but also feels distorted, but clear lead guitar sound. Now, there is a lot of automation on this, as you can see, for turning on and off different effects and different plugins in different parts, because that's kind of, I just like keeping it all on one track. I don't want to break it up too much, because the tone overall is similar. It's just got like a reverb on it, or a delay, or a wow on it that I'm turning on and off, or adjusting the EQs, and then of course volume and sends and stuff like that for different effects. Now, the lead guitar in this one is actually only harmonized once in a few spots. Mostly it's just the main guitar. I didn't go crazy with harmonies like I sometimes can. So it's just another very similar, the same tone with a harmony guitar part and similar effects, and that's about it. Following that is the clean guitar, which is just a clean, funky tone that I made that I really like. And then I put a spring reverb on it and a delay on it in various spots. Now, I did do quite a bit of synth work in this one. Obviously, I was trying to make it Daft Punk, and they use synths a lot. So there's a bit of that and a bit of just the standard production. But all of these are synths and different synth layers. First off, there is a Mini Moog bass in the bridge, and I try it in a lot of places. This is where I start with a big bass synth, but I found I didn't like it in most of the other spots when I found a better bass synth. So this one just ended up being kind of a middle of the road bass synth, not super low or super big, but it fit nicely in the bridge where I want it to be kind of broken down, but still building nicely. So that's where this one sat. Next was the Juno bass, and this one just was a nice thick thing in the riff and in the choruses. It's more of an extension of the guitars. It just occupied this nice width. Then that is going through this multi-pass plugin with 808 Saturator, which is my favorite preset on this thing. Is basically what I use this thing for, which just really widens out the bottom end and really thickens it up. And then that is going through one of my other favorite plugins of all time, Devil Lock, because we all need a little bit more crunch. Then we had in the choruses a Fazioli low octave piano, which is another sample instrument that I am currently in the works making. I use it quite a lot on all of my productions. You'll almost always find it in the choruses of these big rock songs. And again, I'm throwing it through Devil Lock. Does its job, nice crunchy, evens it out because I like the sustain of the piano, and the Devil Lock just brings it up so it doesn't like go away. Then, of course, we have the piano itself, and this is just Piano V2 from Arturia. And I just wanted a kind of a digital sounding piano. I wanted that piano sound that Daft Punk often uses in their tracks. Then we have some pads. We're using a Prophet, Juno for a different pad. Labs as well. This is honestly, this thing, if you don't have this, you should get it. Labs by Spitfire Audio is one of the best weird plugins, weird instruments that you can get. It's free. It's just got some wacky sounds in it. I absolutely love this thing, especially for pads and weird textures in there. And then from there, we have some kind of lead synths. And so one of them is just mimicking the lead guitar in the verse, adding kind of that digital synthy sound to it. I wanted more of that in the mix to be more Daft Punk, so it's not just purely guitar. And then I have another one with a slightly different sound that's in the riff, so that main riff lead guitar, there's a synth that's mimicking that as well. And then I put an arpeggiated thing in the second verse. I started with the arpeggiator on the actual synth, but then I wanted to alter how it went so it sounded like an arpeggiator, but it would change notes here and there. So I took the arpeggiator off and programmed it in note by note, and then I could alter certain notes so it would arpeggiate based on what I was playing, but instead of trying to figure out the chords and when to change, I just programmed in the notes that I wanted through that kind of a arpeggiated sound. And then I have a Mini Moog synth mimicking the horn solo. So that horn solo in the bridge, that is being mimicked by another chorus lead style sound in the Mini Moog. I just wanted it to thicken up those horns because the horns, they sound good, but not great. So this kind of added some more body to it. It was more of a mix thing than a, I need a synth there, if that makes sense. So I do add synths as something to help with the mix as well. From there, we have the kind of the orchestra sounds. So there is obviously the sax solo, which is just contacts, session horns. And then we have a horn pad, which is, again, session horns. We have some strings in there to just beef those up a little bit. So they're kind of doing the same thing, but it's just a lower octave with strings. And that is just the session strings. Now, with the horn solo, I did actually have to print it into audio and then edit that audio into place because it was off. Even when I froze it, was so off the grid that it sounded behind and wrong and off time. So I literally had to edit the audio to put it in time. So be aware of that. Even though the MIDI was right, it was off, and it was really, really annoying. Next, we have the Vocoder vocal, which is just the Vocoder V from Arturia. I don't know much about it yet, so we're going to dive into that in a different video, I think, because I'm curious to use it more. For now, I literally used the preset that sounded the best and went from there. I want to break free. I want to escape. Now, the way that I did vocals, there is a kind of a lead vocal and then a double and triple, which is panned left and right, and then a harmony panned left and right. So there's a harmony and a double. And then there's the callback vocals, the kind of that affected vocal in the background that you hear in the verses. And that is a lead in the middle and a left and a right version of that as well. The whole vocal is going through this back bus, and same with the double and triple, which is this FG36A from Slate. This is a back bus to add some top end clarity to it. It's amazing how much it just opens up the top end air of the vocal when I throw it through this. Can I even make my own choice? A prison of freedom, or so that's what they say. I want to break free. I want to escape. It's hard to find strength. I feel like I'm running in place. All right, that is it for this mix breakdown. And if you have any more questions, because I know there's a million things to possibly cover in this and things you might want to see that I didn't show, because I can incorporate them into the next mix breakdown videos. So please continually leave comments and let me know what you'd like to see. Now, if you want to play with this mix yourself and try and recreate some of this stuff, you can get the multi-tracks from my portfolio builder, which is linked below. It is free, and you can download the raw audio multi-tracks for this and do your own mix with it and see what you get. And of course, if you have questions while you're doing that, you can always book me for some coaching as well. All right, I will catch you in the next video. Until then, always be creative.